You know that feeling when you feel like you're at a crossroads? Not just in life, but inside your own head. Well, it turns out that centuries ago, a 14th century text laid out this exact conflict, describing two fundamental paths a soul can walk. Today we're going to dive into this incredible work, a kind of psychological and spiritual guide that has insights that feel, honestly, surprisingly modern.
All right, let's get into it. Here's our roadmap. We'll start with the fundamental choice that's at the very heart of this text. Then, we're going to explore the two paths it lays out, the misery of what it calls disobedience, and on the flip side, the sweetness of obedience. We'll also unpack the meaning of this fascinating hundredfold reward. And finally, we'll see where it all leads, a place called the Eye of Providence.
So this entire text is really built around one single powerful idea, that every single one of us faces a choice between two completely opposite ways of being. And we're not just talking about good versus bad actions here, but about two totally distinct inner realities.
On one side, you have what the text calls der Gehorsam, which is obedience. This is framed as the actual key to heaven, a state of peace that bears the fruit of life. And then on the other side, you have der Ungehorsam, or disobedience. This is the key to hell, a state of constant torment that only bears the fruit of death. I mean, the choice could not be more stark, right?
Okay, so let's walk down that first path for a minute. The text describes the state of the disobedient soul with some imagery that is just incredibly vivid and psychologically sharp. Wow. That metaphor of a soul just lost at sea is so powerful. And the key thing is, the storm isn't on the outside, it's an internal storm. The text is basically saying that this chaos comes from a deep, deep disconnect between who you are on the inside and how you live your life, and that's the source of all the turmoil. And the text really unpacks this misery piece by painful piece. It talks about a blindness of the mind, a constant sting of conscience, and it points its finger directly at self-love, or you could say pride, as the absolute root of all this suffering. So this isn't some punishment from an outside force. It's a self-imposed psychological prison that just generates bitterness and confusion over and over again. And check this out. We can actually see how the original manuscript visualizes this state. The source describes the words and actions of this person as the leaves and bitter fruits of a tree of death, with its roots stuck firmly in pride. It's such a potent, organic metaphor for a life that just produces nothing but negativity. So the crucial point here is this. The text argues that disobedience is basically a state of perpetual inner war. It's a life lived totally at odds with your true, essential nature, and that fundamental friction, well, that's the source of all the pain. Okay, let's shift gears and move to the second path. We need to see how this builds a completely different reality for the soul. If that first path was a stormy sea, this one is something else entirely. Now this is so interesting. The reward isn't something you have to wait for until after you die. The text is really clear. The obedient soul tastes eternal life right here, right now, in the present moment. So obedience isn't about a bunch of restrictive rules. It's about aligning yourself with a source of profound, immediate joy and purpose. And the outcomes here are a total mirror image of the other path. Instead of confusion, you get words of peace. Instead of torment, there's this wonderful, heartfelt joy. This kind of person doesn't just experience virtue, they become a source of it for other people, and that ultimately unlocks what the text calls the key to heaven. And again, look at this. We can see it reflected right in the source material. This page talks about getting a hundredfold reward for a single act of goodness, linking all this abundance directly to a life of obedience and, this is crucial, charity towards others. This brings us to a really unique concept in the text, this whole idea of the hundredfold reward. And it's way more than just, getting a good return on your investment. So what is this hundredfach? Well, the text presents it as a symbol of absolute completion, of spiritual fullness. It's a state of total grace, and the gateway to getting there is through what it calls the most perfect virtue, charity, or love for your neighbor. And that number 100 isn't just random. It's totally symbolic. It represents wholeness, perfection, and the absolute fullness of the reward that's being promised for a life that's lived in alignment and love. And you know what? There's a clear roadmap to get there. It starts with the internal work, humility, getting to know yourself. Then from there, it moves outward to selfless love for others. This is what unlocks that fullness of reward, which in turn leads to the ultimate experience, the vision of peace. This leads us to the final destination, the ultimate perspective that the obedient soul is said to achieve. So, what lies at the very end of this journey? The text really pushes us to look beyond even that profound joy you can experience on earth.
What is the final, ultimate state of being that this path actually leads to?
The answer is a state of just absolute tranquility. The text calls it the vision of peace, the highest quiet and repose. It's described as an immeasurable good, a state so profound it's like you merge with a vast, calm ocean, the sea of peace.
And we end with this final, powerful image. Peace isn't just the absence of conflict. It's an infinite, all-encompassing reality that can only be understood through direct experience. It kind of leaves us with a question, doesn't it? 700 years later, is this journey toward an inner sea of peace still the most fundamental choice we face?